What is up, everybody? Joe Everest, the fence expert, coming to you live once again from the Know Before You Go studio here at AFA's Fence Tech 2023. With me, I'm sure as everyone probably knows, the one, the only, well,
the original
Mark Olson. Yeah. Mark, for like the 4 or 5 people out there, could you introduce yourself, let them know who you are and what you do?
So I'm not the short one that builds fences. He's younger probably and more fit than I am, but so I'm Mark Olson. I run strategic relationships and marketing at JobNimbus, which is a project management and customer CRM solution in the fencing space.
Yep. One that we use. So Ozark Fence uses it. We've used it for years. Love it. And integrates with my salesman.
Does, yeah.
So I can't tell you how happy it makes me now to get.
And ArcSight now, starting last week.
Very good. Yeah. Very good. Very good. Now, I can't tell you how happy it makes me to get a notification from JobNimbus that says, your My Salesman quote is ready to review. We have like an automation set up to where, anyway, makes me very happy.
Yeah, so it's really, a CRM project management system is really built around the life cycle of a job, starting with a lead, however it comes into you, right? Managing that customer through the sale, and then managing that job through the production, and then closing it out with not only all the financial stuff, collecting the money and all the important stuff, but then eventually following up with the customer and trying to get the referrals and the reviews and, you know.
Well, and following up months after. We'll set up a follow-up sequence 6 months, a year after to say, hey, want to make sure everything's still working right. We ask about the gates. Gates, people have issues with gates. Hey, your lifetime workmanship warranty includes gate adjustments. Just wanted to see, did you also know we offer these other services?
Yeah, I mean, why don't you have us come out and restain your fence?
Right.
And those are all automations that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And you can do an automation off of either an event, if this happens, then do this, or a time-based automation, if it's been this amount of time, then do that.
Bingo.
Right? So we're following up on open items, on open proposals or whatever.
Yep.
We're following up on closed jobs with different things. So
Absolutely.
Either trigger-based or time-based.
And that's been a real game changer for us using the software, setting up those automations. Now Dan Blanc talks a lot about the automations. I don't want to steal his thunder, but we do love using JobNimbus and the automations.
If you're not using automations, you're spending your time doing the wrong things.
Right.
Because a machine can do many of the things you're doing for yourself.
Well, and they're built in. They're part of what you're paying for every month anyway.
Yeah.
So not only are you paying someone to do these, you're also not taking advantage of something you pay for anyway.
Yeah.
So that's probably a whole nother conversation, but it is one of the things we love about JobNimbus. We love the job costing. I love running budgets. That's what I love looking at, is a 30-day look back on, are we in the right gross profit percentage range? Are we hitting the right numbers? What's our average project size? And it's a report we just look at every day.
So you're going to love something new we got coming out. It's a new tool called Insights, and it's effectively a BI system, a business intelligence system that's floating over the top of the database, which basically means I can write a report that can generate information out of anything that's in the database, right? So if there's a piece of information in there, whether it be financial or time, quantity, material, anything in there, you can generate a report that will feed you information about the performance of that specific data.
Really?
Yeah.
When's that? Is there a ballpark on when that might roll out?
Yeah, we're in beta in that right now. I would say sort of first version to the public will be March, April.
Okay. So right around the corner.
Really soon. Yeah.
Nice. We will certainly be watching for that, because that's what I like. So Sarah in our office runs the sales of it. I really run kind of the operations and the watching the bigger picture sort of thing. And those are right up my alley. I love looking at the reports, so can't wait to watch that. Mark, there's a question that's been floating around the social boards in here. And the reason that this happened is we were talking about this. It might be good for us to talk about it, and to folks that aren't here.
Yeah, let's answer the questions that are out there for sure. So as we closed out last year and we were doing our own inventory and we were looking at our own reports saying, like, what's the performance of our business? One of the areas that was underperforming to, quite honestly, an unacceptable level was our churn in the fencing industry.
Okay.
And really what it came down to is we had folks coming onto the system, they were paying us money, and then they weren't engaging with the system, so it wasn't giving them any value. And so eventually they're like, well, why am I paying for this if it's not giving me any value? Well, how do you get to value? You actually have to do some things. You have to set some systems up. You have to establish the way you want to do it. And we were struggling with getting people to build reports, to set the system up and actually use it. Like they weren't even showing up for their onboarding calls. And so the churn was just too high. And so we kind of just pumped the brakes and we said, look, what do we have to do to make sure we get fencing companies to value sooner? So we're trying to evaluate, we're trying to understand what the best onboarding process is.
Okay.
The fencing industry is unique in that many of the business owners are also out swinging the hammer and doing the work, right?
Yeah, very much so.
So it's like, well, I have these intentions to work on my business, but I got to work on a project today.
Yeah.
And when the project's on fire, that's where all your attention goes, right?
Yep.
So we're trying to figure out how we can best slot the ramping up of technology into that. So we pumped the brakes and we said we're not going to accept anybody new. Then we had a bunch of people saying, well, hey, like I desperately want this. Is there any way we can get in? And we thought, well, if maybe we did the work for them.
Sure.
Right? So we opened up a door and we said, if you want to come on the system, one, you got to sign a 1-year contract so that we know you're in it to win it for a year.
Committed to it.
And then 2, hire us to come out to your office, map out your process, and set the system up so that the day we leave, it's running, you're golden, you go work on your fences, right? You don't have to worry about setup.
Yeah.
And so we opened the window back up and said, based on some criteria, we'll take some customers on, right?
Makes sense. Yeah.
And we've also found some partners like Sean King.
Sure.
So he's got a bunch of folks that he works with. And essentially what he came to us and said is, hey, well, I'm teaching them to run their business just like my business. So what if we just duplicated my Job Nimbus install, put it in there, and then I coach them to use it that way? We said, well, that makes sense because that's the setup.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we're trying to open some windows for people to get back in.
Okay. Makes sense.
Somebody to walk up and say, yeah, I want to start tomorrow and I want to remotely onboard. We're not doing that because it just hasn't worked for us.
Well, it sounds like what you're trying to do is set up a win-win.
Yeah.
Right? You're trying to set it up to where they're not spending money for several months and then leaving, which also isn't good for you guys either because you're spending resources on that too. So you're trying to set it up to where they win, but also ultimately Job Nimbus also wins by providing the right solution for them.
Yeah, and this isn't just about like Job Nimbus. This is honestly about the customer. Like we know that the money you guys work for is hard-earned money, and we don't want to have you throw it at us for 3 months and then get frustrated and leave. Like, right? Because we don't want you to leave frustrated. So
that makes sense.
We want to set up the win-win from the very beginning. And sadly, we might have to say no to some folks, but we think that's the right thing to do right now.
Well, and is it a no or is it a not right now?
It's a not right now.
Sure.
We need to figure out, and that responsibility is on us to figure out how, like, people who can't afford to have us come out to the office, how can we set up them to win?
Right.
And so we're doing some investigation on how we can better onboard people, and we'll figure that out over the next year. And so then, I think before long we'll open the windows back up to everybody.
Okay.
But there's still ways to get in if like you're willing to put some skin in the game and make it work for you.
And commit to the success.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what you guys are looking for, is for the contractor to commit to winning with Job Nimbus.
Yeah, I mean, we're fully committed to the fencing space, but we want to do it in a way that everybody wins.
Sure. Well, and even in this time, I mean, I think it's important, and you guys were really clear from the get-go that you're still supporting the fence industry. I mean, you guys are here.
Absolutely.
Right, and and that was actually our first conversation here. Was I saw you, I said,
what are you doing here?
What are you doing here? I'm surprised to see you. And he said, no, we're still committed to supporting the fence industry, those customers of ours.
Yeah, we have hundreds and hundreds of customers walking the floor here.
Sure.
I brought technical support people to sit down and help solve problems for people. Like, we want to support our customers. We want to support the fence industry. We're still paying our AFA dues. I mean, we're all in.
Yeah.
It's just we're trying to do it in a way that everybody wins.
Well, and I knew that kind of going into this. So you and I had worked through some things with Ozark Fence. We changed our payment processor and our financing options. So I knew you were still supporting the industry, but I think that was a question that a lot of people had was, wait a minute, is fencing still going to be supported moving forward? And I had replied to a few of them that it is, because they're still supporting me.
Yeah.
I mean, you still answer my messages, so we got to be on good terms.
It's a big part of our roadmap. We just want to do it the right way,
and that's fair.
And we don't want to. We want to reduce frustration.
When you're looking for long-term relationships, it sounds like. So, not looking for short-term gains, we're looking for long-term relationships, that sort of thing.
We care about our customers, we care about this industry, and we want to do it the right way. And if that means telling somebody no right now, because we know we can't do it right for him,
sure,
that's what we're going to do.
Well, and that answer ultimately leads to lower frustration, right? There will be some frustration in the beginning because they'll want to, but I'm relatively certain you will end up being frustrated right now. So let's pump the brakes. Let's find a solution that makes you happier long term. It's not a no, it's just a not right now.
Yeah, and the reality is, anytime you're involved in technology, there's a dip in productivity while you figure it out and dial it in, and then your productivity skyrockets, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so we're kind of in that point, like with the customers now, trying to make sure that we reduce that amount or that loss of productivity while they get the system up and going, so that they can just get to value faster.
That's perfect. I mean, and I'm glad to hear that, because candidly, JobNimbus is a software that we really enjoy using. I mean, and I won't say that it's the only software we've ever tried.
Right. Sure.
We've been out there and we've tried several of them. Several might be an understatement, but we used JobNimbus, and then we moved away for a little while, and we went and saw what else was out there, and we realized we need to come back. And I'll tell you what, JobNimbus was very gracious to say, we've actually saved your settings, like we've saved, like you can come back and all that. And I am grateful for that personally.
Again, that goes back to our philosophy of trying to do the right thing for the customer and the contractor, right? Like ultimately it's your data. Sure. And if you want to go date another girl for a little while until you understand how pretty we are, we're cool with that. But you're going to come back, and all the information's going to be there, and we can just pick up and go forward. And
that was the most impressive part to me, because we've dealt with other, maybe not necessarily software, but we've had other instances where that wasn't the answer. It was, well, no, you told us you were done, so you need to start over. And you guys were very gracious and had us back, and I've appreciated it ever since. It is a software that we use day to day in our business, so I appreciate it for sure.
Sure, no problem.
So let's talk about also one thing I'm interested in that I'd like to send Sarah to. So you guys also have trainings. Is that right? I want to say on site, but is that your location?
Yeah. So one of the things we really believe in is, again, trying to make sure that we deliver value to our customers. We have, not every month, but most months, we have an event in our office called The Crew. And we invite our customers to come in, and we spend 3 days with them, teaching them how to use the software better, making sure they understand the latest and greatest features that we've launched and how to use them. We also spend time asking you guys questions about your business. What's going on? What are the frustrations you have, and how could we fix that with software? And then that informs how we build the system out, right?
Sure.
So we'll sit down and we'll even say, hey, here's stuff we're working on. What do you think about it? Does it work? Does it not work? And that's free of charge to our customers. You just got to buy your plane ticket in the hotel.
Perfect.
And we spend 3 days with them virtually every month. We bring about 50 in at a time.
Okay.
And it happens all the time. And again, it's just about us trying to deliver value to the customers.
Well, I'm excited for Sarah to go. I was talking to Rachel and then my salesman team, and they had recently, when I was talking to them, it was recently. It's been a few months ago, but they had gone and said, you need to go. You need to send Sarah. She needs to be there because it's really, really helpful. So.
Yeah, well, Matt's company Empire came on, and so they had some people from the Empire side come, and Rachel wanted to understand, because we have an integration with My Salesman. She wanted to understand like what they're pushing into and what the value chain looks like, the role they play, and then handing it off to us. And so they came out, and we have customers that come 4 or 5 times a year just because it's making them better every time they come.
Well, and they can probably stay more up to date with improvements you guys are making, that sort of thing. That makes sense.